Good afternoon. It's Wednesday, the 1st of April 2015, just after 1 o'clock. Welcome to UK Column News. I'm your host this afternoon, Brian Gerrish. With me in the studio is John Shackleton. And just to reiterate, John is working with Response and also the British Constitution Group, and we're delighted to have him here assisting with the news while other members of UK Column staff are enjoying sunshine overseas. So there we go. Well, it's a pretty nice day in Plymouth. Sun is shining, and that makes us happy until we look at politics, of course, across the country. Now, as a scoop, which we have talked about, I think, on Twitter, and it is astonishing, the Conservative Party has finally caved in, and so we will be joined by David Cameron for an interview towards the end of this news programme today. Stay tuned. Well, where are we going to start with UK? We'll begin with the police, and extraordinary, we've warned about this, and here we're now seeing, as reported by the BBC, the start of the political regionalisation of Britain's police forces. Of course, this is being done on the lie of no money. We say here, did you vote for this measure? And the BBC's headline is that Dorset and Devon and Cornwall police are to merge services. What UK Column says with confidence is you will see this programme rolled out across England so that the EU designated regions actually then form the police districts. Any comments, John?
Well, I've got quite a number of comments, but we've not got all day to look at this. But the fact of the matter is that we already know that Cornwall and Devon Police are owned by the corporation, which is IBM. So my assumption, it's only an assumption, but if Dorset are getting involved as well, surely the IBM board of directors have confirmed this, and they're quite happy with this merger.
Indeed. So we're getting a look at the corporatisation of Britain's police, hence the word force as opposed to constabulary. But of course, let's have a look at where a lot of policy comes from, and that brings us. Well, it was the Association of Chief Police Officers, but what's now hitting the headlines? Here we are, National Police Chiefs Council. And they've already started to tweet out. Nick Green was kind enough to pick up some of their tweets today. And we were particularly interested that we've got comment by Sarah Thornton. I am delighted to lead the NPCC as we meet the challenges facing the police service. Now, I didn't cut her face off. The National Police Chiefs Council did that themselves. Some people would say this was appropriate. We don't think it was. But let's remind ourselves that this magic organisation, the National Police Chiefs Council, has drifted out of the Association of Chief Police Officers, which, as you say, John, private limited company. And we've now got massive global corporations linked into police forces, such as IBM. Well, here she is in her full glory, former Thames Valley Police Chief Constable Sarah Thornton. Now, of course, she's failed to tackle child abuse in Oxfordshire, but of course, that means that it's entirely appropriate that she's now rewarded with a £181,455 a year job. We are going to say, of course, under her hand, Thames Valley Police failed to investigate the abuse at Oxford and Cherwell Valley College. And this very brave Asian gentleman shown on screen made some 80 reports about the abuse of white youngsters to Thames Valley Police. The police failed to conduct any full and proper investigation. But of course, they were very happy to have massive publicity across mainstream press and BBC over Operation Bullfinch, in which they basically accused anybody of being a paedophile as being a member of the Asian or Islamic community. Not quite sure what was going on there, whether this was just ignorance or whether Thames Valley Police were working to stir up racial hatred.
It's an interesting one, isn't it? You promote somebody that's seemingly hiding criminal activity, and that's criminal activity towards children. a strange one, isn't it, really?
Well, unless the agenda is to protect the high-level paedophile rings, and we'll be moving on to those. But just to make sure people believe what, excuse me, what we're saying with UK Column today, let's have a look at the Banbury Guardian. And here's the headline: Bullfinch, Thames Valley Police Chief Constable admits many errors were made. And here she is, Sarah Thornton. Here it's admitted that her police force made many errors. What better person to actually promote into a policy-making body for the police? And we are going to say the statement by Sarah Thornton: we have examined what went wrong and are doing all we can to put things right. This is untrue. It's either a lie or Miss Thornton was ignorant of the cover-up of child abuse by her own officers. We fail to see how she could be ignorant of this, because there have been some minor investigations in Thames Valley Police, which of course have highlighted mistakes and failures by the police in the first place. So she carries the can, promoted into a £181,000 job, presumably to help spread incompetence across the rest of Britain's police forces. Well, here we are, Association of Chief Police Officers, and we thought viewers might be interested to go and research this themselves. We're looking here at the Chief Constables Council, and now we see that this private company is drawing in not only Britain's police, but we've got Transport Police, we've got Ministry of Defence Police, the Chief Officer of the Civil Nuclear Constabulary, and the National Crime Agency. So this is a private company drawing in all of these policing bodies, presumably to have meetings behind closed doors and unaccountable to the public. Or is that a bit strong, do you think?
I don't think that's even strong. I mean, it's something that's been going on for quite a number of years, where they've been privatising the police force across the whole of the UK. And now, from our research, we see that some military personnel are getting involved. We've also got people that, you know, like Sarah Thornton, who are producers, trying to get in contact with to see if she can come on air and do an interview with one of us, because we've got a lot of questions to ask, very important questions, because this is of public interest.
Yeah.
And I'm pretty sure the public want to know what is going on with our police force. Are they constables anymore when they're working for a private company?
This is a very good question, and it's just occurred to me, of course, perhaps this is where David Cameron's new personal protection team, military police being used to protect David Cameron. Of course, we can now see that integration into ACPO. So that's likely where the policy decision was made. Let's mix the military police into a civilian role, starting to blur the boundaries. Well, not everybody is happy with ACPO, and the Thin Blue Line blog has produced some excellent material. Encourage people to have a look at this document. It's available as a PDF on the internet. The Case Against ACPO, a critical look at the Association of Police Officers. Well, what have they got to say? Well, this is just a small part of it. The 349 men and women who comprise ACPO have long since turned away from their traditional role of upholding the law and fighting serious crime in favour of increasingly blatant attempts to curry political favour with the previous Labour administration by aligning themselves firmly with that party's political agenda. That's a pretty damning comment. And then it goes on: even though it gets a state subsidy, ACPO is run as a private business with an annual income of around 18 million. And it's then President, I think it was, because it's Sarah Thornton, Sir Hugh Ward, has £2,000 a year with a police pension. And one more comment: the money.
It's 200,000, not 2,000.
Sorry, 200,000, of course,
yeah.
Roughly
Plus a pension.
Roughly £2,000 a month.
That's right.
Yeah, I'm sorry, I missed up. Easy mistake when you're dealing with those big sums of money. The money, amounting to at least 1.6 million every year, is taken out of the 33 million taxpayer grant to ACPO. So I don't remember being asked about giving money to ACPO, but apparently I am. So it's meant to be used on counter-terrorism work. And then their person ends by saying, to add insult to injury, reports allege that the ACPO apartments stand empty most of the time. Brilliant setup, isn't it?
it needs investigating properly. I've got this document. I've not had time this morning to read it thoroughly. You know,
Yeah.
we've read a few pages, and it seems to me
Incredible.
incredible. I don't want to say anything that's libel, but I need to read and look into it more. But it's astonishing. And the thing is, we keep getting told every day that the police are struggling financially. Well,
This organisation doesn't seem to be.
this organisation's got quite a few £1 million, and their boss is on £200,000 per annum plus pension. It's not bad, is it?
Not bad at all. Well, we've set the scene with what the police are up to. Of course, what the police aren't doing is investigating major crime. So let's have a look at the Mail online here with a fantastic headline: government back to work contractors who forged signatures to con taxpayers out of, my goodness, it was a whole £300,000. And we've got 10 workers sort of sentenced to roughly 18 months each. So all these people going to prison around this company, A4E, which was set up by, oh my goodness, an advisor to David Cameron. Here she is, Emma Harrison. So the police have decided to prosecute with CPS on a £300,000 fraud. Meanwhile, let's remember what was going on around expense fiddling, as the politicians know it. So the Telegraph here said that a police investigation had been launched into House of Lords expensive fraud scandal. We've heard nothing. And we've got here the Telegraph expenses watchdog: MPs should not have destroyed records. So that's how the that's how the establishment got round the crime. They simply destroyed the records. So what we've got here, that courts and prisons are just for small people, but if you're a politician or a lord, you can commit fraud, criminal acts, and we will also say the abuse of children. And Sarah Thornton's police are not going to do anything.
Isn't that benefit fraud?
Yes,
Because it's our money, isn't it? The taxpayers' money.
indeed it is.
And so they're utilising it in, well, they're fiddling. They were calling it fiddling.
Corruption and fraud, I think.
I'd call it fraud and deception.
Okay, you're legally trained, so I'll give you that one. So here we are. Let's have a look at this one. We've got the Telegraph, MP's expenses. We're going to say it's coming up to the election, so if you want more criminality and you want more child abuse, you should definitely vote Conservative. This is a pretty easy decision for voters. Here is David Cameron. MPs to escape expenses investigations after paperwork destroyed by Parliament. Many people would say David Cameron's pretty good on losing things.
I think he's lost his mind, personally, but it's just a personal point of view and obviously not the UK column's point of view, so to speak.
Okay. Well, let's bring him in again, because here's David Cameron, who says, well, all this child abuse nonsense, we simply need to sweep it under the carpet and forget about it. So if you're one of David Cameron's Tories, or indeed you're a Lib Lab Con MP, you can commit fraud with your expenses, you can ignore child abuse, and the public's going to vote you in again. So we're going to say once again, if you want more fraud, corruption, child abuse, embezzlement, expenses fiddling, we encourage you to vote Conservative, or indeed Labour, or Lib Dem.
Yeah.
Can't be straighter than that. And while the police are failing to do their jobs, the next part of the political agenda is to collapse the courts. And I think you were quite interested in this one, John, this morning.
I am. I mean, Humberside Court's in crisis. We've known this for quite some time. Also, we were going to run with another story, which was a Bristol lawyer claiming that criminal justice system is about to collapse. And it's a fact. I've looked at this, and Mark Ceylon of getoutofdebt.org, he's also looked at this as a story. And these criminal cases are collapsing everywhere. You know, there's some judges are standing up and saying, whoa, this is way too much. And we know from our experience that some judges do naughty things, let's say. But there are some honourable judges out there that are saying, look, this has gone too far. The government are interfering with the courts and the legal system. Now, ask yourself this question. Why are the government doing this?
Well, if we can bring the previous slide back on, please. There we are. Let's just bring in this. This This is another shot of the video that plays on Channel 4 website there. And of course, everything comes back to the fact that there's no capacity, there's pressures, there's no money to run stuff. So from what I see, it all tracks back to supposed cuts. We've got to make savings in the judicial system. And just to finish it off here, this was Simon Israel, Home Affairs correspondent, and what he was saying live. Should be able to bring it up. Where is it? There we are. The government says all this disruption is unnecessary. So the government causes the chaos and then turns around and points the finger at the courts. But as you say, there are many judges and indeed barristers and other legal staff who are saying this is wrong.
And lawyers. I mean, if you check the last 12 months, you can check this out online, hundreds, not tens or 20, 30, hundreds of lawyers have left the Crown Prosecution Services because they say it's not fit for purpose. So what we've got now is we've got a court system, we've got judges, we've got the CPS, all saying this system is just about to collapse.
Like the banking industry.
Like the banking industry, which is another story. And then you look at these new organisations, these police forces that are being bought by corporations, which they are. They're being bought by corporations like IBM. Why? Why are they disrupting the country? Why are they taking the rule of law away? This is a big question.
Well, in my opinion, because those corporations are looking to run the country. That's what's happening step by step. So has Britain suddenly become incompetent as a nation? Whatever we've got now, 60 million people can no longer think properly. We are incompetent, incapable, the country collapses. Or is the country collapsing as a result of a political agenda? I'm going to suggest it's that. And let's move on to the subject of our children, which the state is so clearly very, very keen to control. Now, we're jumping north of the border here, Lanarkshire, and this is GearFet, getting it right for every child. And what's actually going on here, this is sinister state control. It's talking a programme calling for all workers in health centres and hospitals, nurseries, school and leisure centres, family centres, social work services and housing offices, and in the community to work together towards changes in culture, systems and practice that will help all children and young people to grow, develop and reach their full potential. So families, you're just incapable of bringing up your children. You need this cluster of people around the children. I say this is very dangerous stuff. And before I give you a little bit of comment on that, John, let's have a look at the Scottish press here. Here's the headline: Scottish children may be sent to state-approved care centres. What's going on here? Well, here it is. Toddlers could be placed in state-run development centres to give the Scottish Government more control over how future generations are raised. This is in your face. The Nazi Party would be proud of this because they had to drift it in with banners and massive rallies. This has come in under the radar.
Well, they're trying to take away parental responsibility, aren't they? So they're taking over our children's lives. I mean, this has been happening. It has been happening for some time, but since the great Tories came into power, they've put the stranglehold on their greater, haven't they? On children, on family, on parents. You know, and we speak to parents up and down the country, and they're very, very concerned. Yeah. But they're scared to speak out. You know, again, we've talked about this fear, but they're very scared to speak out against the system, because then social services will come knocking on the door, asking questions. And they're doing this at the schools, aren't they? I mean, I know a few stories now where schools are taking fingerprints off children, and if you don't give your fingerprint, they don't feed you.
Yeah.
Is that not a...
Biometrics, data collection, and then the pressure comes back on the parents. We're going to talk a lot more about what's happening in Britain's schools, because this is the real danger. This is the state taking control, not of this generation, but the next generation. And if you want to do this, how do you do it? You have to get control of people's minds. So a big thank you to the viewer who highlighted this to us this morning. We're calling it a partnership to brainwash the public mind. What is the partnership? Well, it concerns this amazing consultancy, Ricardo AEA. As usual, we encourage you to go and research it. But Ricardo was set up in partnership with Involve, a charity for a stronger democracy. We need charities now to show us how to have a democracy. And it was also linked in with the British Science Association. What did they do? Well, they formed a partnership for delivery of a thing called ScienceWise from the 1st of April 2012 until the 31st of March. Sorry, that should be 2015. And here's ScienceWise. So let's have a look in a bit more depth, and we'll start off with Ricardo, AEA. It says we're part of the Ricardo group of companies. We're a global engineering and strategic consultant and environmental consultancy. Very interesting diagram. I thought we'd blow that up for people. So they're into everything. They're into mega cities, they're into developing regions, they're supporting climate change, energy security, they're looking at world instability, and they're looking at gas reserves, transport and security, energy, science resources and waste. And they put themselves at the head of the pyramid, global engineering and environmental consultancy. So this big firm is now apparently linked, well, not linked, is helping drive democracy for us.
It looks like they're building or setting up a trust of some type where they're controlling not only family but resources now.
Indeed, yeah.
Am I right or wrong? It seems this way to me. Resources including your water, your energy, how they teach you, what you learn. You've got to learn what they say, not what you want to learn.
Yeah.
You know, and this is why I always say to my children, keep your books.
Yes.
You know, because we know for a fact, and David Cameron.
Well, we can ask him.
We'll ask David Cameron later, yeah, because I don't want to spoil that. So yeah, we'll do that later.
We'll save that. We'll put that directly to David Cameron. Well, let's dig into this a bit deeper. Here's Involve. So straight off the website, factual. This is what they say. What do they say? Well, Involve is strengthening public voice in science and innovation policy through the ScienceWise and Engage 2020 projects, working to ensure that citizens are able to influence and take key decisions on complex and controversial issues around science and technology. And this is the fundamental bit, so that policy making is properly informed by the views and values of the public. Now, I'm going to say I believe this is a complete lie, because what they're actually doing is working to influence the public so they accept the policy. So let's follow it through. Where does that go? Well, we always like to look at the people. So here's the team. We've just got time today to have a little look at Simon Burrell here. He's the director. What does he say about himself? Well, he's director of Involve. He's got long and extensive experience in the fields of democratic reform, governance, public participation, stakeholder engagement, accountability and transparency. So that's pretty good. He's worked in Africa, Asia and Europe. Well, it gets better. Shame Mike Robinson isn't here because, oh look, he's been working with the World Wildlife Fund, known for its democratic approach. And I think you'll like this one, Executive Director of the One World Trust.
Oh dear. From
1999 to 2005. So a little bit of insight there from John Shackleton.
One World Trust. I mean, that actually scares me, and I'm sure it scares our viewers. A One World Trust.
So we trust the transparency of these organisations who are teaching us how to be democratic, and who's supporting them, a global consultancy who puts itself at the head of a pyramid.
They're teaching us how to think now then as well.
Indeed. Well, don't forget that Francis Maude and the Cabinet Office are running one of the most successful reframing projects in the world. The technology, the British technology for changing people's minds has now been sold to America and Australia. Research that yourselves. Well, a bit more. Here's ScienceWise. What have they got to say? This is what they've got to say. Let's have a look at the governance. The delivery of the ScienceWise programme is supported by a steering group, and it consists of senior figures from policy making, academia, and the field of public dialogue. So that's all pretty good, isn't it? Can we have a look at that in a bit more detail? Well, we call up a few people. Here's some of the names. They're all involved with universities and social science. So they don't actually seem to have done much real work. Sorry if that hurts a few people. But now these academics are being paid to tell us that we can't think properly, and they're going to do it for us.
Right, yeah.
This is reality in David Cameron's 2015. And the other partner in that coalition was the British Science Association. So here they are. We say, look at it yourselves. Down at the bottom, we've got the meaty people. We've got the presidents. And we've got gentlemen like this man, Sir Paul Nurse, geneticist who works and controls the division and shape of cells, professor of microbiology, cancer research, president of Rockefeller's University, New York, Nobel Prize. So this man clearly independent of big business in the system.
Of course he is, yeah, it sounds like it, doesn't it?
We've got this lady here, Professor Lisa Jardine, Renaissance Studies, Professor of Renaissance Studies at the University College London and Director of the Centre for Humanities Interdisciplinary Research Projects. Could you help me out on that? What do you think that is, John? Because I find that a bit tricky.
Well, they seem to be using a lot of long words and they're talking about them. Does that say Cambridge and Jesus College? It does, doesn't it?
It does, yeah.
And
she's written a book, How England Plundered Holland's Glory, and she won the Cundhill International Prize in History in 2009. So she's a sort of historian, Renaissance study person who can advise us on democracy.
And it seems she was a trustee for some time, wasn't she, at the V&A Museum? Well,
yeah.
for about 8 years. That's my understanding in the
yeah.
Royal Institution. So these are academics that haven't had. I'm sorry, they've not had real jobs, so they've not got real life experience.
And
but they're pulling them all together to advise, if you like, councils, governments to govern and how
yeah.
to create an authority. Because what we're seeing now, excuse me, is a lot of organisations saying they're an authority. They're no longer a trust or a council, but they're an authority. You know, and they're putting that into people's minds. Oh, they're authorities, so I must do as I'm told.
Yeah.
I mean, to me, that's clear brainwashing from academic societies.
Right. But it's created somewhere, and that policy, original policy, has got to come out of where? The civil service or the heart of government? Well, one more person as we look at the British Science Association. If we pop that one on screen, please, Nick. Here we go. And the next one is Professor Dame Athene Donald. Now, she's interesting. Professor of Experimental Physics at the University of Cambridge. She's got honorary doctorships, University of Exeter, University of Sheffield. University of Exeter is very big on the occult. I don't know whether our viewers knew that, but if you research it, you'll find they boast about their degrees around the occult. Presumably that includes Satanism. And she's a champion of diversity in science, especially better representation and promotion of women, a fellow of the Royal Society, trustee of the Science Museum. And, we've got the Scientific Council of the European Research Council. So politically, she's independent, of course.
And the thing that they've all got a vested interest in is science, is it not? And how to change DNA and such things, and mind control, maybe? I don't know. They're obviously looking into them areas. Or that's how I see it.
I think they're past it, John. They're using those areas. They've done the research. We have a government-run behavioural control, behavioural change unit because they are working now to put it into practice. I think that's what we're going. I just wanted to add to this slide here. Key question: did we consent to these people interfering in our lives? Well, of course we didn't. Most people have no idea they're there. But every good partnership requires a common purpose. So we just thought we'd bring this one to your attention. We had a little look into sort of people in Ricardo AEA. And, well, here it is, a gentleman trained in common purpose in 2006 and 2009. Now, of course, we're in no way saying that Mr. Christopher Hayward has done anything wrong. We're simply highlighting to the public the influence of common purpose deep under the top cover of charities and big business. That's the state of the nation today. Police not doing their jobs, child abuse being swept under the carpet, criminal politicians, courts collapsing, state going for your children. Is this accidental? Don't think so.
No, and the corporations taking over the country.
Indeed. What are we going to do about it? Well, we need to expose it. The easiest task for any of us to do is to talk about this on a daily basis. And if you have friends in professional jobs, maybe they're in the NHS or police, or indeed they're working in the courts, get talking to them, get explaining what's really going on. Can we stop it? Of course. We just need enough people to know what's happening and to withdraw their consent. And of course, John here doing great work with the response teams, bringing people peacefully onto the streets in order to help their neighbours and fellow men and women.
Well, we are trying. It's not just obviously Response, who I'm thoroughly involved with, but GetOutOfDebt3.org, they're doing an awful lot of work. There's a lot of very, very, very good people out there. I can't list them all, there's that many.
Yeah.
And we are working together. There's a lot of teams contacting us, and I would urge people who are out there that want to get involved but can't find a group in their locality to either contact us here at the UK Column or contact me directly through the British Constitutional Group or responseuk.org, and we will do what we can to help. But bearing in mind, and I always say this, we're very thin on the ground. There's not, we're not loaded like the BBC. We've not got masses of resources. We're self-funding ourselves, and that does make it difficult. People complain to me. I had some last night when I got back to the hotel, basically saying, well, look, you're not coming back to me. When you get 300, 400, 500 emails a day and 100 phone calls a day, it's very, very hard work. Yeah. And then you've got to be sincere, and you've got to have the time to listen to people's story, and yourself. That you've got to be very gentle in some cases, especially when it's around child abuse or situations like that. And you've got to take that time out for that person and let them know that you do care and you want to do something properly. So it's quite important that we have the general public as well getting involved. Get involved with us, call us, contact us, and let's work together as one massive team. It won't take a lot of us in this country to change
to turn this round. Totally agree with that. Well, we must end there. Thank you very much for joining us. If you like what the UK Column is doing, you like what the British Constitution Group is doing, you like what Response and these other organisations are doing, as John says, please get out of your chair and support. We'll be back tomorrow, same time. Thanks for joining us. Bye-bye.